The following program was recorded at ARC Advisory Group's annual World Industry Forum in Orlando, Florida. I'm pleased to welcome Editor-in-Chief of SupplyChainBrain, Russell Goodman.
Joining us for a conversation on technologies to unite the plant floor with the supply chain is Stephen Garbrecht, Vice President of Product Marketing at Invensys. Stephen, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Stephen, in your estimation, what are the main challenges that manufacturers are facing today to their supply chains?
Well, there's a lot of challenges today for manufacturers, but I would say the top two are probably the aging workforce and also the cost of energy involved in transporting their goods and their raw materials and their finished goods to market.
Well, what technologies do you feel are important to address those challenges?
Well, there are three really important technologies I think that are available today. One is mobile devices and mobile computing. The second is workflow software. And the third is object-oriented systems and technology. All of those contribute to helping with aging workforce and also the cost of energy and transportation.
Well, walk us through then the mobile technologies that you feel are important for addressing these issues.
Mobile technologies are used very much inside of everyday life. Everybody has cell phones, they have different things they carry around with them to check their email, to communicate with each other. Those aspects of mobile have now been applied to industrial processes, and more importantly, inside of the aging workforce issues. So for example, I can use a combination of systems and mobile devices to capture knowledge of existing workers. People who have worked in the plants for 40 or 50 years. They have a massive amount of information on how things work. I can capture that knowledge. Once I capture it, I can apply it inside of the system and deploy out through mobile devices how people should be acting in the plant, how they do their job from day to day, guiding them safely in doing different processes. I can also link in more people in the organization inside the supply chain. So it's not just about plant floor workers. I can notify people via their mobile devices of alerts of raw materials not being available, maybe a customer order is being delayed, or a raw material is having a problem, or maybe a piece of equipment is having a problem. That can now be shared as part of mobile device computing. So it really frees up and allows more people inside of the organization to participate in the overall running of the organization, and also helps to guide people who are new to the industry in how to do their job more efficiently and more safely.
Object-oriented systems, what's the role there?
Well, object-oriented design is really important for manufacturers. It's been used inside of control systems for many years now. But the problem has always been, do I do all my manufacturing at one site and completely ignore the costs of transportation? Because what I'm really doing is I'm creating products and producing them with the idea of getting them to my consumers, to my customers out there. Maybe I should be, instead of producing everything at one central site, dispersing my manufacturing. Maybe I go and if I'm producing cereal, for example, maybe I produce a whole lot of cereal, put it on a truck, and I transport all that cereal out to the actual place where it's going to be warehoused, and I package it there. So I'm taking the production systems, which typically would have run at a single plant, and I'm dispersing them across my supply chain. Now, why is object-oriented systems so important for that? Well, if I have a system that's very modular in the way that it's put together, and that's the way object-oriented systems are, I can define little discrete pieces of functionality and piece them together so they work as a system at a central plant. Then I can also take pieces of that particular application, and I can remove them and put them out at a remote location. And I can do the same thing with process equipment. So I can have a system and the equipment that may be running inside of a central plant, and I can also take it and disperse that equipment, pieces of the process, across a geographically dispersed area. So by doing that, I'm saving on transportation fuel and maybe the size. Instead of 2 trucks, maybe only 1 truck is needed to transport that particular material out there. And I'm also saving on energy cost in that central plant, because maybe it's a little cheaper for me to actually produce something out there at that remote location. So object-oriented systems give me the flexibility to be able to break up what I do at one central location and now disperse it across a geographical supply chain.
Workflow technology is a third element that you mentioned. How does that help?
Now, workflow is one of the most exciting pieces, because with workflow, what I can do is I can have people participate with the manufacturing operations more efficiently. I can take the activities that are going on inside of the production plant, and I can share them with the logistical systems more easily. And it all boils down to a series or a sequence of steps that need to execute in order for people to get their job done. So I might fire off a workflow which says a product is available, and there's a series of things that need to happen across logistics, across the supply chain, to actually get that product out of the factory into the supply chain. Typically, those are sent via telephone, via email, and there's a period of time in between one step to another that is a delay. I want to tighten up that delay so it happens as quickly as I can, and that's what workflow really does for me. I can fire off a workflow electronically through the computerized system. As one person completes one step, the next person automatically gets an alert to do the next step, and the next step, and the next step. So I'm closing in the gap and the amount of time it takes to execute a process, and that means savings to me as a customer. The other thing that workflow is really good for is if I want to have things happen at a certain time because it's the most cost-effective time to do that. So say there's a particular thing I'm producing and it's very energy intensive. I want to start that process to make that particular thing when energy is most cost-effective. Workflow can notify me of when to start that. Maybe there's a raw material that's coming in that's actually very dependent upon when I'm buying it, how much it costs me. I can also have that workflow event tell me about that particular activity or that particular material, when it's available, when it's at the best price, and I can coordinate my production along with that. So I'm coordinating my raw material, I'm coordinating my energy usage to be optimal for optimizing how much it costs me to make that product, and therefore saving money over time.
You've mentioned savings a couple of times, and that anticipates a question I want to ask that I'm sure many viewers are very much interested in. What are the savings here?
Well, the savings we're finding in actually several areas. One is aging workforce. We can bring people up to speed probably in half of the time that it would take in a normal system by having guided workflow. So we bring them in and do a little bit of training with them, and then they're out there practicing what they've learned inside of the classroom in the production environment. So that guidance provided by a combination of the workflow and the mobile devices really cuts down on the training time. Object-oriented systems. We find that people will build systems, and then when they need to replicate them, create and break up that system to be running at another location, they can use object-oriented systems and save development time up to 40 to 70% as part of that, in developing new systems as part of it. And then workflow. Once again, we're condensing the amount of time it takes to execute tasks out there in the workplace, and that really results also in some significant savings for the overall company.
Well, some valuable information, Stephen. Thank you so much for meeting with us today.
Thanks again.
That's Stephen Garbrecht, Invensys. He was speaking with us today about technologies that unite the plant floor with the supply chain. Thank you for watching.